This was posted by Francis Widowson, who is a Canadian professor who was fired for being sane, essentially, sane on the unmarked graves hoax in Canada, recognizing for accurately describing reality. A Mount Royal U course teaches students that WPATH, so that's World Professional Association of Transgender Health, bolsters science-based medicine, and that pushing gender diverse children into making sure they are confident that they are not cisgender is equivalent to pushing cisgender children into being trans. So this person is basically just an avatar for every parasitized academic that you'll ever see. They're all exactly the same. This person is totally immune to reason, does not recognize any of the incoherence or hypocrisy in this 3-minute clip, right? They're incapable of recognizing just the irony of their own statement. Of course, there's no benefit to them to do that. So anytime that they might start to have a question or say, wait a second, what I just said 10 seconds ago kind of contradicts what I'm saying right now, there's no benefit, there's no profit in that for them, right? They just have to sound far left all the time. That's where the profit is for them. Anything else is just danger, because you don't have friends when you're woke. You don't have colleagues when you're woke. You have future denouncers. You have future struggle sessioners. So there's no point questioning. Just go with it. As long as it sounds progressive, you'll be fine. So I highly object to this language, and we're going to watch this video. Don't worry. But I highly object to this language, the manipulation of language, right? Cisgender children. There is something that is just inherently degenerate in that. They're just children. They're not cisgender children. They're not trans. They're just children, right? They're just children. This manipulation of language, like cisgender, right, is just to add a false legitimacy to nonsense, to gibberish, to the infinite series of abstractions that gender theory is, and that all progressive ideas are ultimately. So let's take a look here.
In 2017, Dr. Richard Green published a legal strategy to circumvent laws and health policies prohibiting gender conversion psychotherapies by simply labeling such practices as gender identity exploration or development. To the opposition, the disapproval of pushing gender diverse children into making sure they're confident they're not cisgender is equivalent to pushing cisgender children into being trans.
So just think about this. So this is the sentence here. Pushing gender diverse children. So it's going off the assumption here that these children are gender diverse. In other words, born in the wrong body. But pushing gender diverse children into making sure that they are confident that they are not cisgender. So that means responsible care, right? So saying maybe you're not born in the wrong body. Maybe there's some other source of your discomfort. What is happening? What social media are you looking at? Right? These sorts of interventions, right? To say that perhaps you're not this ludicrous thing, right? That it doesn't even make sense. Perhaps you're not this incoherent idea of being somehow born in the wrong body. Okay? But that's equivalent. So responsible care, right? Sane care, saying maybe you're not born in the wrong body. Let's explore some alternatives. Okay? According to this person, is equivalent to pushing cisgender children, so just children, right? Just children into being trans. So this is totally incoherent. So what they're doing, so the affirming model is the actual conversion therapy, right? Because you can't disagree with it. So in Canada, for instance, it's in the Human Rights Code now in Canada. Trudeau did this. Right. So all doctors, all health professionals must immediately affirm gender identity. This is now protected in law in Canada. So if a parent takes their 10-year-old into a doctor or a counselor or any other health professional and says, my son or my daughter is born in the wrong body, the doctor must immediately affirm that. If the child says, I'm born in the wrong body, and the parent says, I don't think so, I disagree with that, the doctor must affirm it. So anything else would be considered conversion therapy. Ironically, it's tragic irony, right? Tragic irony. So the actual conversion therapy is the gender affirming treatment itself. That is how perverse it has become. Let's let her continue here.
The SOC8 should have been firmer on their stance here. Conversion therapy increases psychological distress and suicide attempts and should be banned, plain and simple, which it is, particularly around.
So again, not immediately affirming this, really just this kind of abstraction, this idea that a child is born in the wrong body, this redefinition of gender into this series of infinite abstractions. None of this actually more to reality in any way, right? But just simply not immediately affirming and saying, yes, 5-year-old, yes, 10-year-old, yes, 13-year-old, you're born in the wrong body, and now we need to permanently medicalize you. Or to this crazy person's mind, that's not conversion therapy, right? That's anyway, let's just continue.
And sexuality in many places in the US and Canada. That is no conversion therapy for homosexually categorized people. The same should be for trans people. Affirming interventions.
And she's talking about children here. Children, right? You should not be able to counsel a child that perhaps they're not born in the wrong body. It's hard to believe. I have to keep restating this, but you are not allowed to counsel a child that they might not be born in the wrong body, and maybe there's something else involved. And in many cases here, there has been abuse. A lot of them are autistic, right? That would be the responsible thing to do, as opposed to permanently medicalizing them, sterilizing them, mutilating them, etc.
Improve mental health, promote well-being, and mitigate anti-trans stigma. Additionally, it would have been helpful for the SOC8 to include a discussion of the dangers of disaffirming therapy, including gender exploratory therapy. Statement 7.5 in the SOC condemns any efforts to discourage a child's gender diverse expressions or identity. Those in the trans health field practice gender affirming informed consent care in the framework of science-based medicine, as bolstered by the WPATH SOC8.
Bolstered by WPATH SOC8. So it's Standards of Care 8. We're going to get to WPATH, okay? We're going to get to them because there was a big leak. I made a video about this a while ago, a big leak of their internal documents, which proves everything she is saying is false. And what did she say there?
Affirming interventions improve mental health, promote well-being, and mitigate anti-trans stigma. Additionally, it would have been helpful for the SOC8 to include a discussion of the dangers of disaffirming therapy, including gender exploratory therapy. Statement 7.5.
So disaffirming would be just like, maybe you're not born in the wrong body. Maybe 10-year-olds don't actually know that. Maybe 10-year-olds don't know what it's like to develop into a healthy adult body. So therefore, they cannot possibly give informed consent on any of this. You know, maybe some sane stuff. Anyway, let's continue.
Informed consent care in the framework of science-based medicine, as bolstered by the WPATH SOC8.
As bolstered, as we'll find out, not bolstered so much actually, but let's continue.
Are the WPATH SOC8 perfect? No, they are not. Are they intended to be rigid, immovable, and followed without question? That would be unscientific. The SOC8 are best or promising practices meant to evolve as science evolves and new research develops and adapts to individual clinical situations. We are learning more about gender all the time, so these should not be frozen in time.
Yet, any suggestion that any child is not born in the wrong body is wrong. That's conversion therapy, according to her. So which is it? You can't have both. You see what I mean when I say it's total incoherence? They don't notice it. They don't notice the irony in their own statements. Is it they don't notice? They don't want to notice? Is it some combination of both? Okay, so it's fluid, it's movable. So that's basically we don't know anything. We don't actually know what we're doing, but what we do know is that 5-year-old is definitely born in the wrong body, that 13-year-old definitely needs a double mastectomy. But it's fluid and evolving because that's science. Well, what it really means is you don't know what the hell you're doing, as we'll see in the WPATH files, the leaked files. That's what it really means, right? So perhaps what would be sane is to say, okay, maybe the gender affirming model is wrong, considering we don't know what we're doing. Maybe we're making some terrible mistakes here. No, none of that. They want they want to have their cake and eat it too.
Overall, the SOC 8 guidelines are a step in the right direction. They endorse informed consent, gender affirming care for gender.
As we will see, no, they don't.
Gender incongruence, which is notable as not every trans person experiences gender dysphoria.
Just listen to that. Not every trans person experiences gender dysphoria. Just think about that. Like, this is 2 minutes. Okay, in 2 minutes, she has fit a lifetime's worth of lunacy, of ascientific gibberish. She's fit that into just 2 minutes here, right? This is only a 3-minute long clip. Not all trans people experience gender dysphoria. How does that even make sense? Well, it doesn't, obviously. Again, I use the word incoherent very intentionally.
And dispense with arbitrary gatekeeping such as age-based guidelines. The SOC 8 edition is at its most robust when it says
she calls age-based guidelines arbitrary. Arbitrary. Children and adults are different. Children have not grown. They have not grown into their fully developed human body and brain yet. It's not arbitrary. Any idiot, any sane person, anybody with the slightest bit of decency, because I think that's what this comes down to, can clearly see that. How many times do I have to say incoherent?
That's why it has flexible guidelines for care. What critics explicitly object to in the SOC 8 is that this latest edition doesn't advance efforts to gatekeep care. That is because regardless of the claims otherwise, those opposed to trans care aim to vilify trans people, delegitimize.
So here you go. So if you have any questions, right, if you say, well, maybe the 10-year-olds actually can't give informed consent for the medical experiments that you want to do on them, that's vilifying trans people, right? Which this is the across the board tactic of the modern left. They're all connected. Yeah, I can guarantee you this woman is a Marxist, right? I guarantee it. What are the chances? 99.999999. Any question is a vilification. We see this in every field, every question, everywhere.
Trans medicine and put a full stop to any provision of gender affirming healthcare, not to improve gender affirming care based on science. Whew, okay, we're rounding in on.
So these are the people, like this is a professor. Okay, this is a professor. This person should not be teaching anybody. This is just a crazy person. And none too bright, I will add. Okay, WPATH files. So thousands of files were released from WPATH, the World Professional Association of Transgender Health. Now, this is the authority, the health authority, that all of the other authorities appeal to. So the AMA, the Endocrine Society, they all just have totally abdicated their responsibility and given it over to WPATH, right? So I think it kind of erases, or they feel that it erases their complicity, right? Because they can say, well, we're just going along with the WPATH guidelines. I mean, they're the experts on it, so we just follow that. Oh, you're still complicit, though, Endocrine Society, AMA, all of you. Oh, you are. WPATH files from Michael Schellenberger. Advocates of gender-affirming care say it's evidence-based. No, it's not. But now newly released internal files from the World Professional Association of Transgender Health, WPATH, prove that the practice of transgender medicine is neither scientific nor medical. American Medical Association, Endocrine Society, the American Academy of Pediatrics, and thousands of doctors worldwide rely on WPATH. It is considered the leading global authority on gender medicine, and by appealing to them, they wash themselves of any guilt. And yet WPATH's internal files, which include written discussions and video, reveal that its members know that they are creating victims and not getting informed consent. Victims include a 10-year-old girl, a 13-year-old developmentally delayed adolescent, individuals suffering from schizophrenia, and other serious mental illnesses. So the affirming model means that all of them, regardless of the circumstances, if they say they're born in the wrong body, you have to affirm it. And anything else is conversion therapy, which is insane. The injuries described in the WPATH files include sterilization, loss of sexual function, liver tumors, and death. WPATH members indicate repeatedly that they know that many children and their parents don't understand the effects that puberty blockers, hormones, and surgeries will have on their bodies, and yet they continue to perform and advocate for gender medicine. So this is the really grotesque part, but it just simply is a hallmark of modern leftism, of ideological capture, is that even when they know what they're doing doesn't make sense, they can't stop. They can't stop because they're in this bubble of their own creation. And if they were to question any of it, the people around them will immediately struggle session them, right? They'll lose their jobs. They will be harassed. You can't do it. You have to continue with the lie, even if it's hurting children. The WPATH files prove that gender medicine is comprised of unregulated and pseudoscientific experiments on children, adolescents, and vulnerable adults. It will go down as one of the worst medical scandals in history. Who would have guessed that the cure for or treatment for childhood depression and confusion wouldn't be sterilizing and mutilating them? That would not be a productive treatment. Who could have guessed that? All right, let's get into it. So what is this guy saying? So talking about informed consent, right? Let's take a look.
I think the thing you have to remember about kids is that we're often explaining these sorts of things to people who haven't even had biology in high school yet. And I know I've heard others in this kind of a setting say, well, we think adults are like really slick biologically, but in fact, lots of people have very little medical understanding of stuff like that. We just, medical professionals and mental health professionals, take for granted. But I don't know still what to do for the 14-year-olds. The parents have it on their minds, but the 14-year-olds, it's like talking with diabetic complications with a 14-year-old. They don't care. They're not going to die. They're going to live forever, right? So I think when we're doing informed consent, I know that that's still a big lacuna. I think the thing you have to remember about...
They're just admitting it. Informed consent is a big lacuna. These are leaked. These are leaked Zoom meetings from WPATH. You can see here WPATH, right? Nobody was supposed to see this. All right, let's go down a bit further here. And you can see there's tons. It was thousands of files, right? Here's another one. It's out of their developmental range sometimes to understand the extent to which some of these medical interventions are impacting them, yet they do it anyway. They continue doing it anyway. Think of how all of these people should be sued into oblivion, and frankly, if there's any justice, sent to prison.
I just wanted to piggyback on all of the importance that comes up with the informed consent issues. I often see people who, because there's such a backlog of therapists to do some of the mental health therapeutic support, I often see people who have already engaged in some sort of, and this is again with youth, who've already engaged in some sort of medical intervention. And so one of the things I do is I'm sitting with the youth and their parents, and I say, oh, well, so tell me more about what you know about that medical intervention. And kind of like what Dan was saying, children and young adolescents, we wouldn't really expect them. It's kind of it's out of their developmental range sometimes to understand the extent to which some of these medical interventions are impacting them.
We do it. We try to talk about it, but most of the kids are nowhere in any kind of a brain space to really, really, really talk about it in a serious way. That's always bothered me, but we still want the kids to be happier in the moment, right?
So they don't understand what's going to happen to them, but that's always bothered him, by the way, he says, but he wants them to be happy in the moment. Just think about how evil that is, right? This is what we're seeing here is evil, right? They're not putting out press releases warning people about this, right? They're just going ahead, blithely going ahead with these medical experiments on children. Right? This is what's happening behind the scenes, right? Are they having these frank discussions with the parents? It sounds like they're not really. It sounds like they're just going along with it. Well, they can't really give informed consent. That's a problem, but we're going to do it anyway. They just keep doing it. Many parents don't understand what will happen to their children. Like the first leaked Zoom message here should have just put an end to WPATH right from the start, right? There should have immediately been huge exposés on like every channel, every newspaper. Nothing. Why is that? Ideological capture, obviously. The same reason that these people just keep doing what they're doing, even though they know that there's serious problems. And well,
I try.
And that it's in fact unethical, completely, obviously unethical.
I try to kind of do whatever I can to help them understand best I can. But what really disturbs me is when the parents can't tell me what they need to know about a medical intervention that apparently they signed off for.
Well, maybe if it disturbs you, you shouldn't do it. How about that? Here's one that's really disturbing. So here's another leaked document, internal communication. Ethical inquiry. In a developmentally delayed 13-year-old adolescent, that's where it should stop right there, obviously, right? Right there. But in a developmentally delayed 13-year-old adolescent currently on pubertal suppression, they may not reach the emotional and cognitive development bar set by the standards of care within the typical adolescent timeframe, if at all. What is the ethical approach to care? The adolescent just demonstrates the emotional and cognitive maturity required to provide informed consent for the treatment. So never. Like, you've already got a developmentally delayed 13-year-old on puberty blockers. Right. So that means that child is never going to grow into a fully developed, healthy adult body, right? Because whatever part of your puberty has been blocked, you're never getting back. I mean, just think about how demented this is. Does this sound like science? Does this sound like this is based on rigorous science to you? Or does this sound like they're just making it up as they go along? They're clearly just making it up as they go along. There is no scientific rigor here. This is pseudoscience, right? These are a bunch of lunatics. How about this one? So one of this doctor's former patients is asking about whether or not they'll be able to start a family. Well, let's hear.
I think now that I follow a lot of kids into their mid-20s, I'm always like, oh, the dog isn't doing it for you, right? Yeah, they're like, no, I just found this, wonderful partner, and now we're kids and da-da-da. So I think, it doesn't surprise me. I think now that I follow a lot of kids into their...
So the dog's not doing it for you. Obviously a patient who didn't understand what was happening to them. And it goes on and on, right? This is as hard to believe as it may be. If you want to see more, go more in depth on this, find my video, just type in Radio Baloney WPATH. You should be able to find it. But we see how grotesque it is that American Medical Association, Endocrine Society, the American Academy of Pediatrics, thousands of doctors worldwide, appealing to WPATH as the authority above all authorities. It's a clown show, right? It's just this chaotic charade. There is no scientific rigor involved in this. These are ideologues making it up as they go along and just deceiving the world. At some point, these associations, these medical associations, will just simply have to. I think it'll be lawsuits that makes it happen. And again, they've kind of washed responsibility from themselves by saying, well, no, we're just doing, the standards of care from WPATH, and they're the experts on this, but it'll be lawsuits that brings this all to an end. It's always money. It's always money. And so you see, here's a professor, right? And they're one of thousands. One of thousands. Essentially, it's not even preaching this, right? We went through how many incoherencies, how many contradictions were just in this 3 minutes, right? Half a dozen. None of it makes any sense. Does this person understand that none of it makes any sense? Does this person ever kind of catch themselves and saying, well, wait a second, I just said something contradictory 10 seconds ago? I don't know. But this is a problem, right? This isn't just crazy college kids with crazy commie ideas at Berkeley anymore. Now this is the real world. This is happening to real children, right? And also, too, there are vulnerable adults that have been pushed into this, that essentially, the real conversion therapy, which is what this is. So Frances Widowson, I would follow her if you're interested in this stuff, because she's very good, especially if you're interested in the unmarked graves hoax. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say about that. Please like, share, and subscribe. Subscribing really helps me out. I thank you for that. I will see you next time.